delegates have worked very hard, some for more than 2 years, and given of their lives, their money, their passion for the issues, not just for Bernie Sanders the person. I know myself, listening to his remarks last night, I couldn't stop crying, and it was a feeling of a moment in history past that I may not see again in my lifetime. You know, someone who truly represented the progressive agenda that I find important, not only rose to single payer and Medicare for all, but to the climate emergency, which our time to take care of that and to lead on that in this world may be passing us by. And I think Tim Kaine is a person who doesn't make that a priority. At least so far, he has not made that a priority. So part of our quest, this was not to mess with the DNC or to make things difficult for them. This was to truly reflect the energy that has come from Bernie delegates and the people who have worked so hard over this course of time to have a ticket that reflected the best of what we put forward during this primary campaign. And I think to have every effort that we have had, so far, at least in Philadelphia, be met with barriers to getting the information we need, or outright contempt for the fact that we're trying to question things and work the democratic process, is extremely frustrating and adds to the heartbreak, and quite frankly adds to the negative energy.
I want to note that there's a tremendous amount of talk in the media and certainly from the political campaigns in the DNC about the question of unity. You know, unity seems to be the very key words of the week at this point. And I think it's notable that when you look at not only the revelations from the leaked emails from the DNC, but the fact that when those revelations caused the now disgraced Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign as head of the DNC, within hours she was appointed by Hillary Clinton to be the honorary chairwoman of their 50-state campaign for Clinton-Kaine. So why is there an honoring process immediately going on for Wasserman Schultz, and what kind of message does that send to not only the Bernie Sanders delegates and Sanders supporters, but others who were appalled that at her shop, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was inculcating this sort of process that was the opposite of the claim of being even-handed. And now we're hearing about how Bernie and delegates should be willing to move towards unity, but the onus and the power rests in the hands of Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee that she controls now more than ever.
Norman, well, first off, you haven't told us who your vice presidential.
That's right, and I think it won't be revealed to history for many years. So we'll see. It's mooted by the fact that we can't get the forms.
But what? No. Can you tell us why you won't give us the name? What is the reason for not giving the name?
Because it's moot.
No. That's not a reason. That's. We want you talked about transparency, historical footnotes, knowing things. So if you had someone ready to go and the DNC shut you down, why won't you tell us who that person was?
Because the DNC shut us down, which renders it irrelevant. Our candidate was willing to be public if there was the capacity to actually fill out a form. But when the DNC says, we're not even giving you a form, then that's it. That's the end of the story.
So you said very clearly, even if you got a note from Bernie or anything that you would reveal, nothing would be done in secret, nothing in backroom deals, nothing like that. This sounds like about.
We've never heard from Bernie on this. It's not a backroom deal. We were trying to.
You and the VP candidate, you're not sharing it with.
There is no VP candidate. The DNC saw to that. Other questions?
Yeah, wait. So let's reverse engineer this. So since this is moot, and since you're running up against this super corrupt DNC right now, what about this is surprising? Like, why? I'm just having trouble from you trying to understand from your point of view why you wouldn't tell us this anyway. Why not contrast yourself as the more transparent entity and say, we had David French, as the VP ready to go, right? Or someone. And, you know, he said, here's the guy, he was ready to be the second most powerful Democrat in the country, and the DNC shot us down. I just don't understand what's...
Nobody was ready to be the second most powerful Democrat in the country. We got our feet on the ground. We understand it would be a symbolic protest. And the willingness of the candidate to step forward was on the premise that there would actually be forms to fill out. So if you're not happy with that, you know, that happens with journalists sometimes. Yes.
What were you intending to accomplish with this symbolic gesture that can now not be accomplished by explaining to us who it is?
No, it can't be accomplished because the DNC said they wouldn't give us the forms. That's why it can't be accomplished.
It was symbolic one way or the other. So what is moot? The symbolism is not.
No, the symbolism would be to put forward a candidate that the DNC had us go through channels for. And as for why we're doing it...
So if you told us, right, so we could like ask people about that person and write stories, and there would be
you're missing our point.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, you are. and let me put it this way. If I get permission from that individual who agreed with us to go public, if there could be the process fulfilled, then surely tomorrow I'll give you the name. But the DNC has blocked that.
You talk about the revolution and going forward with that. Given how poorly you feel you've been treated by the Democratic Party, are you committed to staying within the Democratic Party's confines and pursuing that revolution? Or do you think you might find another vehicle for yourself?
Progressive Democrats of America, we have always felt that we are the insurgency in the Democratic Party. We are not official members of the Democratic Party, but we have sought since 2004 to reform this party. We still believe that we can do that. There may come a time when we feel that's not the case. I think I've heard it said well this week that we're in the room, and we had an active platform fight in Orlando. The platform is better than it might have been without Senator Sanders. I think he outlaid last night a beautiful list of things that have been changed as a result. None of those things, and I can stress that over and over again, none of those things would have been changed without a Sanders campaign. They just would not have. There would have been a rubber-stamped platform that would have been the agenda that Hillary Clinton felt was right going forward, probably would have been a lot more corporate than what we would really like, a lot less progressive than what we would really like. And Senator Sanders has done a masterful job of running a campaign that helped address some of the real deep concerns that this country needs to address going forward. So I think there's so much work to be done, and progressive Democrats will stay in this fight for now. Can I speak for all of the Bernie delegate network? Of course not. You know, there's a significant number of delegates who feel that I think the Democratic Party is broken, and it's hard to disagree with them.
So you said you're going to continue serving Bernie delegates, but why was there? Can you just explain why after Bernie sent his message out yesterday, that didn't prompt you to then check in with the delegates? Like, what was the thinking on your part to not survey?
Okay, we're Tuesday morning. We sent the survey out on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. I got word about it, I think 4 o'clock or so on yesterday. Mm-hmm. I was in my seat at the convention. You might have a feeling that we have this huge squad and infrastructure, Bernie Delegates Network, where we have part of a shoestring. So we wish we could have done a hell of a lot of other things. So this is the day we have.
Sending out a doodle poll to your email list with one question that says, do you feel differently?
Do you have some volunteers who will beef up our staff
it
for
would
us?
take me about 15 seconds to do it on an internet poll.
Have you ever been an activist and worked on a shoestring?
Why is it hard to do a Google?
Yeah, why is it hard?
They're hard. I don't know if you've been an activist, but I don't know about you, but when I'm at the convention center, and because you think it'd be a good idea to go out and do a doodle poll about what Bernie email just sent, hey, we've got some openings for volunteers. We don't have infrastructure like that, and
Give me your list and I'll put it together.
I think we're getting a little silly here. Yeah.
One more question. I'm wondering, so you said in this election, you're not going to back a third-party candidate, for example. Trump you've said is so odious that there needs to be a consensus that he needs to be defeated. I'm wondering in next elections, would you urge voters to begin thinking about supporting third-party candidates?
About supporting third-party candidates. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, so you're asking me personally,
Sure.
politically. I do not personally support Green Party presidential candidates.
Why not?
Because it's a blind alley, it's a dead end, it doesn't help grow social movements, it's an expenditure of time, energy, diversion, and in swing states, possibly negative, whereas Green Party efforts should be locally focused and have borne some fruit. I'll give you an example, Richmond, California. These are nonpartisan races on the ballot, but the Green Party leaders have been in the forefront. They've done fabulous work, successfully electing mayors, city council members. Gail McLaughlin, former mayor, turned out on the city council, challenging Chevron, which is engaged in humongous environmental racism. Well, that kind of energy is a positive use of, if you will, green third-party efforts. But the national campaigns, my opinion, just speaking for myself, I don't understand the rationale for Jill Stein as a presidential candidate campaigning in swing states. I personally find that abhorrent.